Welcome to the finals of May Malaise, Zero Suit Samus against Ken. For anyone who's new, this is the losers bracket of the May Malaise, which is the follow-up to the April Anger season. It's been a long journey, but we finally made it. And as the final match, it's actually matches, it's going to be a best of 5. So you have to win 3 times in order to not be crowned the biggest loser. Because it's an inverse bracket. Zero Suit Samus already dying. Not a great way to start out the finalist set. Of course, these two amiibo have lost against basically all of their other opponents. In fact, I just checked my notes and that neither of them won any of their matches against their previous opponent. So with the exception of perhaps maybe a preseason game that I can't remember because that's a lot of games to remember, I don't think these amiibo have won this year. Which is why they're the last of the last in the losers bracket. As being part of the Final Four, that does mean that all of them will be retrained, so that next year the competition will be even more fierce. Zero Suit Samus getting one up air, but not following up with anything, not even a second up air. I noticed she tried to follow it up with up smashes earlier, and they usually didn't work unless her opponent landed on a platform. Running into the wall, that's a little bit more of a symptom of this stage than the amiibo AI in general. A lot of the more competitive stages don't have walls, so the AI just doesn't need to be as trained on them. And it's not like I've never seen a human accidentally run against a wall. Usually because they lose track of their character, though. Zero Suit Samus is seeming to learn from her mistakes, following up with multiple up airs, but then trying to close out the combo with an up smash again. Meanwhile, if she could just land an up B, she'd probably be doing much better. Oh, that killed her off the side of the stage. That puts Zero Suit Samus in a really bad situation. For this match, at least. Dramatic lightning flashes. Always great for the ambiance. Raw Shoryuken from Ken does do noticeable damage. Getting clipped by one of the late hitboxes of up smash. If I had to guess, I'd say great combo from Ken, actually. Zero Suit Samus probably uses up smash because it is great at killing people, which is one of the training ideals that these amiibo are trained against. They're supposed to be great at killing people, and then they're fighting each other. It does mean that they aren't trained like normal amiibo versus amiibo, if that sentence makes sense. Some things that when your amiibo fights another amiibo, it changes what behavior you want to teach them. For example, the easiest example is running. Against a human opponent, you definitely want your amiibo to run, because it gets them to where they need to be quicker. Against an amiibo, though, you don't care about that. The AI doesn't really change given how much time it has to react to anything, and running is safer, so it means the amiibo can lock up and shield. Human players actually can run up and shield. It's a trick I don't think the amiibo can learn. There's a couple of people-only tricks that the amiibo, well, the AI in general, doesn't do, because when they try to do it, they get something wrong, and then it messes them up for the future. But against a human player, it's all about speed and mobility. You want to be in the right place at the right time. So that is something to consider. If you ever want to make an amiibo yourself, you want to figure out who they're going to be fighting, ideally as soon as possible, usually before you start training. You can make adjustments, but if you want to be the very best like no one ever was, usually you have to start over. At least that goes for the competitive amiibo against amiibo tournaments. If, you know, you're just trying to make something to wreck your friends, then you have so much more leeway. Alright, Ken takes the first game. Zero Suit Samus against Ken. Game 2. Out of 5. If any of these matches ever does go to time, then we solve it with Super Sudden Death. We've only had that happen like twice though. But based off of the speed of that last match, it's entirely possible. Especially when we're on a larger stage like Big Battlefield. The stage itself is bigger, and that means that the blast zones are bigger. I guess it doesn't necessarily mean that the blast zones are bigger, but you would really notice if they weren't. One of those changes that once you know about it, it totally makes sense. But if you don't know about it, it can be harder to check. Already there you can see Ken's combo didn't kill Zero Suit Samus. It didn't even put her off-screen enough to put the little off-screen projection box on the screen. Whereas on normal Battlefield, it most probably would have. You would think the stage would be really good for Zero Suit Samus, because Zero Suit Samus in most of her game iterations has always had up air to up air combos, and usually they're only limited by how many jumps Zero Suit Samus has. And by having all these platforms, that means that Zero Suit Samus can get much longer combos. However, the amiibo doesn't seem to want to do that. They just land in up air and then wait for the opponent to fall onto them for the next up air, instead of keeping the pressure. Up smash is able to kill Zero Suit Samus. Zero Suit Samus finally taking her first hit, actually doing a pretty good job of spacing out Ken this stock. Getting a good Zare, believe it or not. It's the term we call it. Some characters have a extra move they can use by pressing Z in midair. For characters who don't have it, you just use your air dodge. Ken goes low, actually makes it back. Definitely at kill range for a lot of different options. Zero Suit Samus doesn't really have a kill throw though. Ken got the cancel there, but Samus wasn't in the range of the Hadouken. Zero Suit got the parry, but then she ran to the other side of the platform, and Ken just punished her for that. She does get her first kill on Ken, but that puts her about 70% behind, which can be honestly just a long way to make up if you don't have a character with really explosive damage and risk reward being skewed in your favor. Flip kicking over Ken's Shoryuken. There's a little bit of invincibility near the beginning of flip kick. Actually, I think it's intangibility. But by not putting yourself in the range of the hitbox, oh, and Zero Suit Samus is already dead for the second time. Only getting 10% to speak of on Ken. It does not bode well for the Space Bounty Hunter. Finally getting an up air to up B conversion, but she had to land on the floor to do it. Oh, she starts up air chaining, landing on the platform to extend it, gets one extra up air, but then she gets caught out by Ken's down air. Down air and neutral air is pretty hard to tell on Ken, because they're basically the same animation. In Street Fighter, characters don't really need downward aerials, so they kind of don't have them. So they kind of just repurpose the one move into two for Smash Brothers. And it works out. The moves actually do have different properties, so they're not even exactly the same. Trading there. I've mentioned it before, but trading is a lot more likely to happen when one of the moves is an aerial. Simply because they can't clank against each other. on-stage spike from Ken is gonna kill Zero Suit. Wow. Zero Suit Samus against Ken, the third match. Let's see which stage we're going to be on. Looks like we're going to be on Wily Castle. Should be slightly beneficial for Zero Suit Samus, who has a wall jump. I guess it does mean that Ken is a lot more likely to grab the ledge, since he doesn't have to recover through an angled surface. But Ken's been doing pretty good so far. So he probably doesn't need that niche advantage. It does mean, though, that we don't have platforms, which Zero Suit barely used on Big Battlefield, which had 6 platforms, which is more than most other stages. This does... Ken air dodges away from the ledge. Okay. Ken basically threw away that stock. That aside, though, the flat stage does put him more in his native Street Fighter environment, which is most notable just because a lot of his moves are in the same fashion as moves from the Street Fighter games, which Ken has had. And Street Fighter doesn't have platforms. So naturally, due to the nature of his character's origins, should be a little bit better. And since neither of these characters are, well, neither of these amiibos, I should say, have been really great at the platform pressuring. Zero Suit Samus goes for a grab. It's a pretty slow grab, so it's hard to hit. It is a tether, so that does help sometimes. But usually in order to land the grab, you need to land her paralyzer shot first. Just because of the slowness of the throw. You can also land down smash, which it occurred to me that the Zero Suit Samus amiibo has not used a single time. It's actually probably to Zero Suit Samus' benefit, simply because the amiibo can mash out of that sort of stuff sooner. Getting the up B by the ledge, getting a nice early-ish kill, especially relative to how Zero Suit's been doing, and another onstage spike from Ken. But Zero Suit does have the life lead. And I think she just gimped Ken to death. Nope, he can grab the ledge. Ken lives. At least for now. Zero Suit Samus' down air is a spike, but it sends you downwards at usually roughly the same speed of the opponent, so usually it kills you both. Also, the longer you are into the spiking animation, the less strong it becomes. Although you can see there, Zero Suit Samus hit with a middle-ish hit of it, and was actually able to combo it into the landing hit. So that worked out. That was a very early hit of down air. You could actually hear it had a much louder impact noise. One of the subtle effects of Smash Brothers. Stuff like the, you know, the amount of screen shake and the hit stun the opponent receives helps clue you into how strong some of these attacks are. Of course, if you've played the game long enough to pick up on that sort of thing, Zero Suit does not use her wall jump. She's not able to make that back. If you've played the game long enough to pick up on a lot of those things, you usually know the strength of that kind of move anyway. But it is extra input, and that's universally good for players, especially new ones. See, if Ken hadn't air dodged away from the ledge, he'd probably be doing really well this match. He's kind of making it close, but if Zero Suit lands another, maybe a random smash attack, her forward smash isn't that powerful though, so you'd have to be right at the ledge. Zero Suit barely grabbing the ledge there. And she get-up jumps, so she's not even able to get the get-up attack on Ken. Not getting spiked, and Ken saves her with the Shoryuken. That means Zero Suit Samus wins this match. We'll see you in round 4. And here we have round 4 of Zero Suit Samus against Ken. Zero Suit, in order to not be crowned the biggest loser, needs to win this match and the next match. So if she loses once, then that's it. And of course, Ken just needs to win one more match because he's already won 2 of them, and then he'll get the 3 out of 5. We're in the Reset Bomb Forest, a stage that apparently a lot of... Now Zero Suit Samus uses the wall jump. A stage that a lot of players don't know has a transformation. However, we are playing with hazards off. Although it occurs to me that I don't know if that means the stage transformation is turned off. I guess we'll see in a minute. The right blast zone also is a little bit closer to the stage than other stages. Actually, pretty good down air from Zero Suit. And by that I mean it did hit Ken. I've already mentioned that you don't want to... Like that one, Ken actually rolled out of the way before Zero Suit had even committed to the move. Ken having a little bit of a hard time getting up to that middle platform just because it is higher than most other platforms. He can still make it, but he does have to use his double jump, and the timing is noticeably slower. Good Zare from Zero Suit actually follows it up with the up B. These platforms are actually pretty much aligned for her to up air ladder people. That doesn't mean that the amiibo will be doing that, but if they knew that, that would be a beneficial thing to do. This is also a stage with a hole in it. We already saw them playing in the hole a little bit earlier. Always something you've got to watch out for, although even though this stage has a hole, it has a platform above it, so you're usually not at risk at randomly falling into it. And it does mean that the platform is a little safer because it's a lot harder to pressure from below. Zero Suit recovering actually pretty high above the ledge. They're dancing around each other, but Ken keeps getting all these stray hits. Extra dangerous because as a Street Fighter character, he can land a random aerial and convert it into a special move. He doesn't seem to be doing that much, but it is an option he has. Lands with an air dodge. Zero Suit stuffs it out immediately. Then she goes for the paralyzer, but I don't even know if it works on mid-air opponents. I think it does stun them, but getting it to land is another thing. Back air's gonna kill Ken. I guess it sends you slightly up. I did not know that. Although it's not like I've played Zero Suit Samus to an extreme degree. I'll usually play a mix of characters, so... Not that some characters get put by the wayside, but... I would be astounded if the stats were exactly even. Falling up here past the ledge, but Zero Suit is able to make it back, actually using a whole bunch of wall jumps on this stage. Ironic because of how crucial it would have been earlier. Up smash, not killing Ken. I had the percent switched. He was not at kill percent for that. And he does get Zero Suit off the side of the stage. This is a problem for Zero Suit because Ken usually gets Zero Suit to a pretty high percentage before she manages to kill him. So if he does that and then lands a kill move, then Zero Suit Samus may end up perishing. Ken air dodging out of the pit. Gets another stray hit on Zero Suit. Throws out a side B. He hasn't used that move much. It's actually a little sad because Ken's version of the move does combo. It, specific percents to varying degrees. It may not be an assured combo, but it can lead to follow-up hits or at least pressure. Zero Suit takes the stock on Ken with... honestly, I think that was more supposed to be a recovery, but she does get the kill. And for the final match of 2023, we have Zero Suit Samus against Ken. They've both won 2 matches, both lost 2 matches. Once again, it all comes down to the final match. I guess it always comes down to the final match, but this time we know ahead of time that this is going to be the final match. This platform is pretty perfectly sized for Zero Suit Samus. I don't think... oh, Ken actually can... well, I think he can hit Zero Suit Samus when she's on the platform. We saw that she was able to parry it, but that technically just means that Ken with an up smash is able to hit Zero Suit Samus' shield. Or more specifically, her parry range. But that's usually about the same size as the shield so that you can, get it to work right. If it was nowhere near the size of the shield, it would be almost impossible to land. Really weird hitbox of down air for Zero Suit to land. Did actually hit Ken with it, though. Teching off of the roof. It is something to know about Spring Stadium. The overarching thing you can see there, the player fighters can hit, though. And you can bounce off of them, and you can tech off of them if, you could normally tech. But you can't land on top of them. The game actually just kind of slides you off if you try. Oh, that's going to kill Zero Suit. It's actually a pretty good combo on Ken there. Landing some up airs, even bouncing him off the roof. I'm a little surprised that he didn't tech that. Usually the amiibo are pretty great at teching. He does cancel out of his down B, which is actually a smart move. Oftentimes when characters see you initiate the move, they don't want anything to do with it. And being able to cancel out of it makes you a lot less vulnerable. Maybe Ken uses it so much because I tried to teach him to cancel out of it as a landing option. Ooh, that sounds possible. Oh, but he actually canceled out of it there. Sometimes I swear these guys can hear me. Zero Suit Samus just doing so much jumping. She is a good jumper in this game, but when Ken's on the ground, you don't want to be jumping, because how are you going to hit him with anything? Tries to catch his landing with an up smash, but he jumps away. Good move on Ken's part. Starts to juggle him, but she misses the second up air. Takes a... I think that was a down air. As punishment. Playing by the ledge, Ken goes dangerously far off. He does make it back. But he definitely went farther than I'd recommend most people. Up smash, not killing Zero Suit Samus, although it is close. Up smash only getting Ken with a couple stray hits of it. Tries to follow up with a flip kick. She actually bumps into the ceiling. I don't think she could have hit him with flip kick anyway. Has Ken off stage. Flip kicks behind him to hit him with a forward air. Zero Suit getting clipped by Shoryuken, but not at a high enough percent for it to kill, which is impressive because if she had gotten comboed into the last hitbox, then it basically would have killed. Because that one is the launching hitbox. Ken bouncing off the roof, but that puts him right at the ledge. I think that actually saved his life. And any extra percentage that he can get on Samus before he loses his second life is less damage he has to do during his final stock. Zero Suit Samus goes really low, way too low. She doesn't recover. Tragically fitting, due to an elective choice, Zero Suit Samus has not won, meaning that she's the quote-unquote champion of the loser side of the tournament, ranking her as the exactly worst amiibo this year. And there you have it. I hope you've enjoyed this tournament season. See you in the next tournament season. And until then, I've got a couple other things I'm going to be working on. Have a great time.